It began with a whisper, barely audible, fragile, and filled with guilt. In a quiet hospital room at Montgomery Regional, a nurse leaned closer to an elderly woman whose voice trembled with every breath. The patient's name was Evelyn McCallister, 72 years old, fading fast after a long battle with congestive heart failure. But on this night, she didn't want medicine. She wanted forgiveness. "Call the police," she whispered, her hand trembling as she clutched the nurse's wrist. "Please, there's something I have to confess." When Detective Carla Henderson arrived an hour later, she expected another end-of-life rambling, the kind she'd heard countless times in her 25 years on the job. But what Evelyn said next made her stop breathing. "I didn't bury my husband," Evelyn whispered. "I buried someone else." The room fell silent except for the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor. Carla leaned forward, confused. "Ma'am, what do you mean?" Evelyn's lips trembled. "The body behind the church. That wasn't Samuel." And with those words, a 20-year mystery that the people of Maple Grove, Alabama, thought was long buried was about to be unearthed, literally. To everyone who lived in Maple Grove, the McCallisters were the couple you wanted to be. Pastor Samuel McCallister led the First Baptist Church, a beloved figure whose deep voice and gentle sermons could make even hardened men bow their heads. He was respected, admired, and adored. His wife Evelyn was the heart of the congregation. Warm smile, calm voice, and a way of making everyone feel seen. They lived right behind the church in a white clapboard house with blue shutters and a small rose garden that Evelyn tended every Sunday after service. Their marriage looked like a story of faith and devotion. But as is often the case in small towns, perfection was only what you could see from the sidewalk. Behind closed doors, the house behind the church wasn't a sanctuary. It was a prison. It was August 2003, hot, humid, and sticky. The kind of Alabama summer that made the air feel heavy. That Thursday morning, Pastor Sam was seen leaving the parsonage. A few neighbors waved as he backed out of the driveway in his old Ford sedan. Nothing seemed unusual. Evelyn later told police he said he needed to clear his head and spend time alone with God. By Sunday, he hadn't returned. The church elders called Evelyn, expecting she'd know where he'd gone. "He's probably still praying," she said with a weak smile. But as the days passed, that explanation started to fall apart. By Monday, Evelyn was on the phone with the sheriff's office. "My husband's missing," she said. "He's been gone 4 days." Search teams were organized. The entire town came together. Congregation members combed through the woods calling his name. Flyers went up. Prayers were held in the church he built. And then came the call everyone dreaded. 5 days after his disappearance, police dogs picked up a scent behind the McCallisters' home, near the rose garden. They found disturbed soil. When they dug, they found a body. It was badly decomposed, but there was no mistaking the details. The gold wedding ring engraved with EM and SM. The silver watch everyone had seen Pastor Sam wear every Sunday. Evelyn collapsed when she saw it. She screamed, clutched her chest, and cried, "That's my husband!" The coroner confirmed the body was male, middle-aged, matching Sam's description. Cause of death, blunt force trauma to the head. The story spread fast. Beloved pastor found dead in his own backyard. The entire congregation mourned. The official story? Suicide. The conclusion? Case closed. Evelyn wore black for a year, led charity drives in her husband's memory, and eventually, quietly left town. And that was that, or so everyone thought. 20 years later, when Detective Carla Henderson walked into that hospital room, she had no idea she was about to reopen one of Alabama's strangest cases. Evelyn, frail and pale, spoke slowly, each sentence like it was costing her the last of her strength. Samuel, he wasn't the man they thought he was. Her eyes darted to the corner of the room, as if expecting her husband's ghost to appear. Carla kept her voice calm. What do you mean? He hurt people, Evelyn said, and I helped him cover it up. But in the end, I couldn't live with what I'd done. She took a deep breath. I buried someone in that garden, yes, but it wasn't Samuel, it was her. Her? Carla repeated. Who was she? Evelyn's lips quivered. Her name was Clara. Clara Jo Benson. She thought he loved her. Carla scribbled in her notebook. And your husband? Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. He's the one who buried her. I just made sure he joined her. Those words changed everything. Over the next hour, Evelyn poured out a story that sounded impossible, but would soon prove chillingly true. She and Samuel had been married 30 years. They met in college when Sam was studying theology, and she believed his purpose was divine. But once the church grew, his temper did too. He controlled everything: what she wore, who she spoke to, even when she could visit her own mother. He justified it with scripture, twisting verses about submission and obedience until they sounded like chains. He wasn't a man of God, Evelyn said softly. He was a man who played God. By the late 1990s, things between them had grown tense. That's when Clara Jo Benson, a 27-year-old choir volunteer, entered the picture. She was single, bright-eyed, full of faith, and drawn to Pastor Sam's charm. At first, Evelyn thought the young woman just admired her husband, but admiration turned into private counseling sessions. Private sessions turned into late-night visits. And before long, Clara Jo was pregnant. When Evelyn confronted her husband, he didn't deny it. He told her, "This is God testing your obedience." Evelyn endured it silently for years, until 2003, when Clara Jo started demanding more. She told him she was done hiding, Evelyn recalled. She said she'd tell the congregation if he didn't leave me. That's when Samuel snapped. On the night of August 21st, Clara came to the house. Evelyn saw her car parked behind the garden shed. Through the window, she watched as Samuel led the young woman into the yard, the porch light casting a dim glow on their faces. The argument was heated. Evelyn couldn't hear the words, only Clara's raised voice and Samuel's low growl. Then came a sound, a sharp crack, followed by silence. When Evelyn rushed outside, she saw Clara lying still on the ground. Samuel stood over her, shovel in hand, panting. "She slipped," he muttered, his voice trembling. "It was an accident." But the bruise on Clara's head said otherwise. Samuel buried her that night. Evelyn stood on the porch, frozen, as he dug a hole behind her rose bushes. The same spot where he used to pray with her. When he finished, he said, "No one will ever know. God forgives." But Evelyn never forgave. Let's pause here for a second. If you were Evelyn, trapped, silenced, and living with a murderer, what would you have done? Would you have gone to the police, knowing no one in town would believe you over their beloved pastor? Would you have run away? Or would you have waited and found your own justice? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because what Evelyn did next wasn't forgiveness, it was judgment. 2 nights later, Samuel was sleeping soundly. Evelyn sat by the window, staring into the backyard. She could still see the faint outline of disturbed soil beneath the roses. In that moment, something inside her broke. She walked quietly to the kitchen, picked up the same shovel he'd used, and went to the bedroom. "Samuel," she whispered. He stirred. "What is it?" "You should pray," she said. He frowned, still half asleep. "What?" Evelyn lifted the shovel. "For what you did." The blow landed before he could speak. Once, twice, then silence. By dawn, Pastor Samuel McCallister, the man Maple Grove adored, was gone. Evelyn dragged his body to the car, wrapped it in the tarp Samuel had used on Clara, and drove 20 miles east toward the Blackwater Swamp, a remote, mosquito-ridden stretch no one visited. She buried him there, under a tree, marking the spot only with a small cross made from broken branches. Then she returned home and dug a new hole behind the church. This time she unearthed Clara's body and reburied her, deep enough to fool the police, shallow enough to find quickly. When detectives arrived days later, she wept over the fake grave and told them, "My husband's gone. He must have taken his own life." No one questioned her. The town buried Pastor Sam with full honors. Evelyn, the grieving widow, was hailed as an example of faith in the face of tragedy, and the secret stayed buried for 2 decades. After Evelyn's confession, Detective Henderson reopened the case file. Many in the department doubted the story. "Elderly woman, heavy meds," one officer said. But Carla had learned long ago. Deathbeds don't lie. She filed for a warrant to excavate the old McCallister property, now owned by a retired couple. Behind the house near the rose garden, ground-penetrating radar detected irregular soil layers, the same area described by Evelyn. When they dug, they found skeletal remains. The dental records matched Clara Jo Benson, missing since 2003. Days later, Henderson led a second search, this time in Blackwater Swamp. Guided by Evelyn's hand-drawn map, they found another shallow grave under an oak tree. Inside were the skeletal remains of an adult male wearing a tarnished gold wedding band engraved EM and SM DNA confirmed it. It was Pastor Samuel McCallister. When the news broke, Maple Grove was in shock. For 20 years, they'd worshipped a man who'd been a killer and pitied a woman who'd been his victim and his executioner. Reporters flooded the town. Former church members gathered in disbelief. "How could she do that?" one said. Another whispered, "No, how could he?" Detective Henderson spoke at the press conference. "This isn't a story about faith lost. It's a story about truth finally found." Evelyn's deathbed confession was recorded, transcribed, and added to the case archive. Though she was gone, her words became the key evidence in closing two unsolved disappearances. The property behind the church was declared a historic crime site. The new owners moved out within a month. No one has lived there since. Clara Jo Benson was finally buried under her own name, surrounded by her family who had never stopped hoping for answers. As for Pastor Sam, his remains were quietly cremated. No funeral, no sermon, just ashes. The rose garden behind the church has since grown wild, thorny, untrimmed, reclaiming the ground where two lives had ended. Evelyn's confession spread online, sparking debates and documentaries. Some called her a murderer, others called her a hero. Detective Henderson, interviewed years later, said something that still sticks with me. Evelyn didn't confess for redemption. She confessed because secrets rot the soul, and hers had been rotting for 20 years. So let's ask the real question. Was Evelyn McCallister a cold-blooded killer, or a woman who finally took back control from the man who'd stolen her life? Would you call it justice or sin? Because when you strip away the headlines and the horror, what's left is something far more human: survival. She could have gone to the police, yes, but would they have believed a pastor's wife accusing her husband, a community saint, of murder and adultery? Or would they have turned her into the villain all over again? Think about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read everyone. In the months following the confession, something remarkable happened in Alabama. Lawmakers introduced a bill requiring mandatory re-examination of unsolved domestic disappearance cases after 10 years, nicknamed Evelyn's Law. It aimed to protect victims of manipulation and domestic abuse, the silent ones who never made it to the hospital to confess. At Maple Grove Elementary, students planted a rose garden in memory of both women, Evelyn and Clara Jo. Two lives caught between love, control, and consequence. A plaque reads, "Truth blooms, even in the soil of secrets." Evelyn McCallister died 48 hours after her confession. She never saw the excavations. She never saw the news. But maybe she didn't need to. For the first time in decades, the truth was no longer buried. And as the sun set over the overgrown rose garden behind the old church, you couldn't help but wonder, how many other secrets lie just beneath the surface, waiting for a dying whisper to finally bring them to light? This was the pastor's wife who confessed on her deathbed. Who she really buried in the backyard wasn't her husband. What do you think? Was this a story of revenge or redemption? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to True Crime Archives, where every day we uncover the stories that were never meant to be found.